We will begin with arguably the most important death in the entirety of Attack on Titan, the death that fundamentally shaped the whole story, as we saw in the latest episode of Attack on Titan's final season. It all started with a young slave named Yimir Fritz. One day, whilst being chased down by King Fritz's men for releasing pigs from their enclosure, she stumbled upon a pool of water inside a tree, where a hallucinogenia looking creature known as the source of all life lived. After coming into contact with this being, Ymir became the first Titan in existence and the original founding Titan. Ymir's desire to be protected by something bigger than herself is what likely resulted in the Titan form being birthed. Using the power of the Path's realm, she was able to make her vision a reality. Using the power of the founding Titan, her with her future partner King Fritz, who was impressed with her newfound power, declared war against Mali, slaughtering many people in the process. This atrocity was what began making the Malians view the Eldians as devils, creating the cultural war between the two races, which would carry on for another 2000 years. Because of Ymir's astounding power, King Fritz gave his seed to have his children with her, resulting in 3 daughters, Sheena, Rose and Maria, which became the names of the 3 walls on Paradise Island. One day, a Malian soldier tried enacting revenge by taking a spear to King Fritz. However, Yimir Fritz sacrificed herself for her king. She jumped in the way of the spear and eventually succumbed to her wounds, resulting in her passing away, where she spent the rest of her time wandering the Path's realm alone. She is the one creating the Titans we see in the story, continuing on the will of her lover, King Fritz. As you saw, the Malian soldier was swiftly killed for his crimes, and upon Ymir Fritz's death, her daughters were instructed to eat her by their father as a way to preserve the Titan powers within their lineage. This is to continue his selfish desire of being power hungry and making the Eldian Empire grow. These 3 daughters were then made to reproduce as much as they could and make their children eat their parents upon their death too. This is to continue the cycle and keep Ymir's power in the hands of the Eldians. This is a huge theme in Attack on Titan that is explored throughout the series, where multiple characters mention that children are suffering the most through the cyclic nature of war. On top of that, they are forced to carry on this curse of eating their parents to continue the regime. This resulted in the subjects of Ymir and the creation of the 9 Titans. Ymir dying at the age of 13 is also why the 9 Titan users are burdened with the curse of Ymir, which causes them to die after 13 years as a Titan host. This all happened 2000 years ago, but in addition to this, around 1600 years ago, a lot of you might not know this, the 1600 years ago from the Attack on Titan story that you are watching, the power of the founding Titan was also pivotal in saving humanity during an epidemic. During this era, where humanity's numbers quickly decreased, the king of Eldia of that time used the power of the founding Titan to alter the DNA of the subjects of Ymir to give them complete immunity to ensure their survival. Essentially, a huge percentage of the human population died. We then move on to 1000 years ago. Karl Fritz had inherited the founding Titan over a century before the Battle of Tross, when he was crowned the 145th king of the Fritz family. He felt the shame of his ancestors and despised the Eldian Empire's horrors before inheriting the founding Titan. I mean, you know, the Eldians did kill a huge percentage of the human race and oppressed them for around 1000 years at this point. So with the help of the Tiber family, he planned to weaken Eldia so that Mali, who had been oppressed by the Eldians, could conquer it and reclaim their territory. So whilst a civil war for the 8 Titans raged on, King Fritz summoned the royal family and residents of Eldia to the island of Paradise. This is in order for the subjects of Ymir to finally live in peace. King Fritz used the power of the founding Titan to create countless colossal Titans and thus created the 3 walls, Maria, Rose and Sheena. These are the same Titans that Eren just used to activate the rumbling, but more on that later towards the end of the video. As I stated, we are doing this in chronological order of every death that occurred in Attack on Titan. So once the walls were up, King Fritz then used the rumbling as a threat to the outside world, as a way to create peace within the walls for the inhabitants. His death came by the hand of the curse of Ymir, because remember, you die after 13 years. Once his time was up, he was eaten by another royal pure titan to pass on the founder. However, his legacy did continue. Before dying, he made the vow renouncing war, so that his subsequent ancestors would not be able to use the founding titan to fight back against the outside world, as he saw this fit as a way to accept the evil that Eldia had done throughout the history of 1,000 years so far. This is where we jump forward another 950 years. This is 50 years before Eren's story begins. In this part of the story, we find ourselves with the life of the Jaeger family in Liberia. We see the life of Grisha and how he became the man we all know. And it started with the death of his little sister, Faye Jaeger, who was killed by mutilation led by Major Gross. Faye was killed because the Marley officers caught her and her brother Grisha, Eren's father, wandering outside the interment zone. This is where they wanted to watch a blimp take off. Grisha was beaten up for punishment by Eren Kruger, and he ultimately was allowed to stay and watch the blimp take off. His sister, however, was not so lucky, as she was taken away and fed to a dog. So many truths about the treatment of the Marley people come to light during this instance, even showing the brutal executions done on the Eldians, which is literally leaving them to be eaten by titans. So many truths about the treatment of the Marley people come to light during this instance, even showing the brutal executions done on the Eldians, which is literally leaving them to be eaten by titans, including the likes of Grice, an Eldian restorationist who was pushed off the wall by Major Gross to be eaten. After this moment, the Owl, aka Eren Kruger, an undercover Eldian restorationist, pushed Major Gross off the border of Paradise Island, where even he was eaten by a pure titan. This was a huge plot twist. This was the moment of rebellion the restorationists needed to pursue their revolution against Marley. So basically, imagine that most of the pure titans in the world that we see, they were actually coming from this area, and hundreds if not thousands of people died, thus continuing the regime of racism and the cyclic nature of war. Grisha Jaeger was then tasked with eating Eren Kruger in order to pass the Attack Titan's power over to him, beginning Grisha's journey of turning Eren into the future founding titan. This was influenced by the Attack Titan's future memory powers. Eren Kruger, through the influence of Eren Jaeger's ability to affect the past, as you saw in the latest episode of Attack on Titan's final season, he knew he had to pass the Attack Titan power on to Grisha, telling him to protect Mikasa, Armin, and everyone else. Now, many of you guys are confused as to how exactly Eren can do this, but don't worry, we have a full video explaining it in detail where we explain every single memory and moment Eren used this power to go from the future back to the past and affect it. We will put that video in the pinned comment for you, but essentially that covers Eren Kruger's death. We now move on to the next death, and it's none other than Mr. Smith, Erwin's father. Mr. Smith worked in a school and came close to uncovering the truth about the outside world. One day he tells his class about his theory, but he is overheard by the military police brigade. In order to stop the rumor spreading, the police torture Mr. Smith to death and cover it up by blaming it on an accident in a different town. Erwin, however, kept hope in his father's theory and dedicated his life to uncovering the truth and completing his work. This is when we move on to the next death in chronological order, and this is Tom Cassava. He was the mentor to Zeke Jaeger and was also an Eldian researcher. He had once fallen in love with a Marley woman and had a son, but once she found out the truth about his Eldian heritage, she killed their son and herself out out of shame, leading Tom to become a warrior. Again, this is another theme that Attack on Titan explores, the use of propaganda by governments to enact a certain philosophy on its people, therefore subjugating them to their perception of events, allowing them to eventually control them. Essentially, nationalism is seen as something questionable, as one needs to value other humans as an equal rather than inferior or superior. As a result, it was Tom who convinced Zeke Yeager to turn his parents into the authorities, and he was also the one to inform Zeke of the euthanization process for the subjects of Ymir. Later, it is shown in a flashback that he had been eaten by Zeke Yeager whilst in a pure Titan form. This was in order for Zeke to become the Beast Titan. This brings us on to the next death. Around this time frame, we move to Paradise to Uri Reese, the younger brother of Roder Reese, where along with his older brother begged their father, who wielded the power of the founding Titan, to free humanity from the Titan, but he refused. However, Uri soon adopted the same ideology of his father after inheriting the founding Titan, and subsequently changed his ways. Later, Kenny Ackerman discovered Uri was the true king, and when Uri tried to assassinate Kenny, it didn't work out. Despite this, and Rod's insistence that Kenny Ackerman be killed, Uri spared his life. He argued that as an Ackerman, he deserved to point his knife at him due to the monarchy's oppression. From this, Uri and Kenny forged a close bond. Sometime later though, his reign as the founding Titan ended, as he passed it on to his niece, Frida. Before that happens though, it is revealed that Kenny's younger sister, Kushal Ackerman, aka Levi's mother, she died from illness prior to the fall of Wall Maria, and discovering her dead body with Levi, Kenny took him in to raise. And whilst we're on the topic of passing down the Titan powers, during this time back in Mali, the present day warrior candidates also ate and killed the previous owners of the colossal, female, armor, jaw and cart Titans. All those people that possessed those Titans had died, as they had to be eaten to pass on the power. We then move on to Mikasa's parents. One day, Mikasa's mother had been bandaging her daughter's arm as Grisha was late for their visit. It was this day that she assured Mikasa that one day she would pass the clan's insignia down to her. Suddenly, however, a group of human traffickers showed up at the door. They killed Mikasa's father and accidentally killed the mother too whilst she was protecting Mikasa. This event consequently led to Eren pushing Mikasa to awaken her Ackerman abilities, where together as mere children they killed the bandits. Later, she was to be adopted by the Yeager family. Now, what you need to understand is that in Attack on Titan Season 4 Episode 20, Eren admits to Zeke that killing these individuals wasn't something that haunted him, rather he was born this way. He isn't the pathetic brother that Zeke hoped for him to be, as he wasn't brainwashed by Grisha at all. Rather, it was all his own actions using free will. Eren would kill those that would try to steal his freedom away before they could steal his. The next few deaths we need to explain occur on the attack on Shiganshina. Prior to the attack on Shiganshina, Marcel Gillard, the host of the Jaw Titan at the time, was on a mission with Reiner, Berthold and Annie, and this was to infiltrate the walls. However, before they could reach their destination, Ymir, a pure Titan at the time, attacked the group and subsequently ate Marcel, resulting in her regaining her humanity and stealing the Jaw Titan in the process. Marcel sacrifices himself to save Reiner, who froze during this encounter. Reiner then changed his entire personality after this moment, as he did not want the mission given by Marley to actually fail. Reiner believed that he could become a hero for humanity by taking the founding Titan away from Paradise Island. Reiner wasn't even meant to be a candidate, by the way, but was manipulated to become one by Marcel to save his own brother's skin. Reiner's whole character is a parallel of Eren Yeager, as they both believe that walking into the hell of battle would result in a hero being birthed. However, they find out that all of these deaths we were explaining so far were all for naught. Rather, they are all devils and the propaganda needs to end in the world. Meanwhile, back inside the walls, during Eren's time as a child with Mikasa and Armin, there was a scout regiment member by the name of Moses BRAUN, who was the first death presented at the very beginning of the series. Moses was killed off screen by a Titan, leaving only his arm behind. But this now moves us on to the biggest events of Attack on Titan, the fall of Wall Shiganshina. One of the most important casualties that was suffered during the fall was of course Carla Yeager, the mother of Eren. After the wall is breached by the colossal Titan, the debris flies around, destroying many of the surrounding homes, the Yeager house being one of them, and inside was Carla. She was trapped. Eren and Mikasa tried to save her, but they couldn't get her from under the steel beams holding her down, which is when the smiling Titan Yimir Fritz arrives to come and kill them all. More on this very special Titan later. We will explain Yimir Fritz a bit more later on though. Carla tells the kids to run, but they wouldn't listen until Hans arrived and took them away at the request of Carla, who was now being aimed for by the Titan. Eren looks back as he's being taken to safety, but he is seeing his mother be eaten by the Titan in the distance. This was when Eren's rage began. His mother was one of the most important people to him, and seeing her being brutally eaten by the Titans made him hate them for even existing. This in essence is where Eren's generation-long plan to initiate the rumbling began. This was the hatred that he needed to give him the drive and motivation to take such a lonely responsibility on by himself. Eren's mother is the one that gave him the motif of being born into this world and calls him special, which is a famous phrase by the way that Eren uses to explain to others why he seeks freedom, as Eren believes that humans are born with freedom. However, later on in chapter 139, we learn that Eren, due to being one with the founding Titan, with the influx of past, present and future being modeled up, Eren was actually the reason why his mother died. This was because Eren had to command Yimir Fritz to move away from Bertholdt, who she was initially about to eat. Eren, knowing that Bertholdt being alive was important for the Attack on Titan story, he had to save his life, as this was a paradox since he had to make him survive, otherwise the events wouldn't have occurred as it did and he wouldn't have received the founding Titan. Subsequently, Yimir Fritz moved in the direction of his mother and ate her instead. Meanwhile, during the attack, Grisha went to the Reese Chapel to try and urge Frida to use her founding Titan power to stop the Titan invasion before Carla and his children are killed, right? But Frida rejects his pleas due to the vow-renouncing war that Carl Fritz created. As we all just saw in the latest episode of Attack on Titan's final season, under the influence of Eren's manipulation, Grisha battles Frida's Titan and defeats her, taking the founding Titan from her whilst also getting rid of the children too, even though he didn't actually want to. Following the attack on Shiganshina, once Grisha learns of his wife's death, he takes Eren into a forest where he is told to return to Shiganshina and enter the basement of their old home. He turns Eren into a pure Titan who then eats Grisha, acquiring the founding Titan and the Attack Titan's power, thus giving Eren the tools he needed to complete his rumbling plan. A few days later, the sole survivor of Grisha's attack on the Reese family, Rod Reese, goes to visit his illegitimate daughter, Historia, and this was to bring her into the family. However, Rod and his wife are stopped by Kenny Ackerman, who then kills Alma, his secret lover, Historia's biological mother, because she was a stain on the Reese family. He also attempts to kill Historia too, but is ordered to stop by Rod Reese as they make a deal. For her own safety, to disguise Historia's identity, this is what results in her inheriting the name Krista Lentz, so that she would be safe as others would not know her true lineage.
The following year, 20% of the Paradise population was killed via the royal government during a culling disguised in the form of the Wall Maria reclamation mission. During this time, Armin's parents are caught trying to escape the walls in a hot air balloon. Subsequently, they are killed by the 1st Interior Squad, who use the Wall Maria mission as a cover-up. We also find out that off-screen, Grandfather Arlet, Armin's grandfather, was killed by Titans when summoned by the government to try and retake the wall. He was one of 250 people chosen. Grandfather Arlet was who raised Armin growing up, and the two of them were very close to each other, more like father and son. The loss of his grandfather was the emotional drive that made Armin want to follow Eren down the path of vengeance. A couple years later, during the 34th expedition beyond the walls, Elise Langnar encounters a talking titan who repeats the words "subjects of Ymir" and "Lady Ymir." This was the first time someone inside the walls had communicated with a titan, although she quickly gets angry at the titan, which results in her being eaten and having her body placed inside a cavern of a tree trunk, paralleling where Yimir Fritz stumbled upon the hallucinogenia creature, the source of the power of the titans. However, she had taken notes on her entire encounter, which later became a huge source of inspiration for Hanj and her experiments to try and talk with titans that she had captured. Fast forwarding now though to the Battle of Trost, where there are a bunch of people who die, showing us even more just how gruesome the world of Attack on Titan truly is. The Colossal Titan shows up at the Trost district and the 104th Cadet Corps is sent out to fight. Thomas Wagner is the first of the cadets to die, being signed to the middle guard along with Eren, Armin, Milius Zeramuski, Naktias and Mina Carolina. Quick disclaimer by the way, I'm going to, by odds, get at least a lot of these words wrong. Thomas mentions a contest to see who can kill the most titans due to the large number in the area, but is instantly caught off guard by an abnormal titan and gets caught in its mouth and is swallowed whole. Mina Carolina tries to stop a titan from coming at the squad, but a peering titan grabs her, throws her into a wall and then devours her. Simultaneously, Milius Zermiski is caught by a titan and eaten, whilst Naktias is swatted out of the air by a different titan. None of these characters are major to the plot, but their deaths took a toll on their fellow corps members, causing fear to form amongst them. The next to die is Franz Kefka, another member of the 104th Training Corps, but their death is off-screened and all we see is the top half of his body with Hannah, who is trying to perform CPR on him, without much luck by the way, in case you needed to know. The 104th Training Corps trainee Tom was killed after his gear ran out of gas whilst following Mikasa, and two of his teammates to try and help him, but all three of them die as well. Mikasa kills the peering titan by slashing its nape, also saving Sasha Braus. Mitapi Jarnak is one of the soldiers who is tasked with protecting Eren when going to plug the breach in the Trost wall. After Eren transforms into his titan form, he goes out of control for a second, then takes a giant boulder to the wall in order to close it. Mitapi and his people approach titans on foot to distract them from stopping Eren, leading to him being crushed by a titan. Also tasked with protecting Eren, Ian Dietrich, ex-team leader of the garrison, died after saving a fellow soldier from getting their head eaten off by a titan. Instead, Ian got his head bitten off. Meanwhile, Marco Bot overhears Reiner and Bertolt discussing their plans to breach the gate. Because of his skill of quickly catching on to things, Reiner and Bertolt make the decision to strip him of his ODM gear with the help of Annie whilst he begs for his life. He is subsequently left for dead as a titan approaches and eats him, with only half of his body left remaining, which is later discovered. This death shook the entire Survey Corps, including Reiner, Bertolt and Annie. Reiner actually the most of the three because of his multi-personality disorder, which made him feel bad for leaving him to die. And of course there's John as well, Marco's best friend, who is completely distraught by this news too. Ruth D. Klein is also killed off screen, with her corpse being found by Annie Leonhardt, and she apologizes to her. Fun fact by the way, Ruth was not in the manga and is an anime only character that was not named in the anime, but in the Attack on Titan Wall Sheena Goodbye visual novel. Not that any of you care, I I just thought I'd let you know. Annie and Reyna also killed the 2 test subject titans, Sonny and Bean, which Hanja was using as her research into Elise's notebook during the night in order to keep them from being studied by the government. Next is the 57th exterior scouting mission, where Annie in her female titan form makes her debut. The first to die by her hands are Luke Cease and Dieter Ness. Next to be taken out by Annie is Gunther Schultz, whose neck she slices in an instant. Annie continues her onslaught by killing Eld Gid, Petra Ral, and Oru Bozard. Eld was bitten in half, Petra was crushed into a tree, and Oru was roundhouse kicked, breaking his spine and ribs. Ivan and Jürgen are 2 more members of the exterior scouting mission that get killed off, but Ivan's death was off-screened whilst Jürgen was grabbed off of his horse and eaten. These deaths signalled a change in how humanity perceived the Titans. Trust began to wear thin within the ranks as a traitor was suspected to be amongst them, masquerading as the female Titan. However, it is Erwin Smith who is the one who suspects the traitor to be Annie and subsequently devises a plan to trap her. This resulted in the Battle of Stohess District, which caused great destruction throughout the entire place, resulting in many civilian casualties to be sure, as well as Annie hardening herself in crystal to avoid Eren stealing her Titan and inheriting her memories. The chaos does not end there though, as Zeke Yeager begins his expedition to the walls, turning the inhabitants of Rogoko into pure Titans, including Connie's family and Kaya's father, who eats Kaya's mother alive in front of her eyes. This was a turning point for humanity despite the great cost, as it helped confirm the theory that Titans were in fact humans. This revelation was met when Connie recognized the Titan laying upon his old house who resembled his mother, who also tried to talk to him. Kaya, on the other hand, was saved by Sasha and was later adopted into the BRAUN family, where she would one day learn the secrets of her family's death from Gabby. Later, Mike Zacharias gets his leg bitten off and gear removed by Zeke Yeager's Beast Titan, who then orders the surrounding Titans to finish the job and eat Mike. Fast forwarding to the attack at Utgard Castle, Lin and Hanning are members of Squad Mike in the Survey Corps, who were killed by the Beast Titan's boulder throw, causing them to be instantly crushed to death. Galgar, another member of Squad Mike, was the one to take the lead charge against the assaulting Titans from Rogoko, alongside Nanaba, but ran out of swords rather quickly and then not too long after suffered a head injury, making him fall off of the wall of the castle. A Titan picks him up and throws him into one of the castle rooms, where he sees a bottle of alcohol that he tries to drink, but is sad to discover that it is empty. His final act is him being devastated about the bottle being empty, as he is taken by a Titan and eaten. Nanaba does try to help him, but to no success, as she is too eaten, resulting in all of the senior members of the mission dead at the hands of Titans, where it is then left to Ymir in her Jaw Titan form to save them. She too is almost killed, but is then saved by Mikasa, Eren and the rest of their group. Shortly after, Reyna and Bertolt kidnap Eren and Ymir to take them back to Mali. Pyr dies during the Eren rescue mission. After saving Eren from Bertolt and Reyna, the group was trying to escape on horseback, but Reyna throws some other pure Titans at them, knocking Erwin off his horse whilst Pyr gets eaten trying to protect him. We then have the deaths of the Springer family, who are all Titans that are killed off screen by the Scout regiment. Hannes meets his demise when he is saving Eren and Mikasa after they get knocked off their horses. Hannes recognizes the smiling Titan, aka Yimir Fritz, as the one who ate Eren's mother, Carla. Becoming excited at the chance to avenge her, he fails in his attempt and is eaten by the Titan as she smiles. This death led Eren further into his ideals of nihilism. Hannes was extremely close to him and his family. Seeing him die just like his mother later fortified Eren's resolve to destroy the world. Whilst in despair about not being able to change a single thing, Eren retaliates by punching Adina's smiling Titan as she reaches to eat him. As Eren has the power of the founding titan laying dormant within him, his contact with royal blood activates the founder's power, allowing Eren to order the surrounding titans to rip Dina Fritz to shreds, avenging both Hannes and his mother at last. Raynar and Bertolt, however, escape, along with Ymir, who decides to go with them. Upon inheriting the memories of the Jaw Titan years ago and seeing its memories, Ymir realised that she had stolen something that wasn't hers, which is why she allowed herself to get taken back to Mali so that she could return it back to them. She is then eaten by Porco Galliard, the brother of the man that she ate, to gain her power. In the meantime, Hange relocates Minister Nick to the Trost district, but he was killed by the royal government for the possibility of giving away capital secrets. He is beaten and tortured for hours by 2 policemen, but he didn't give up any information, so they kill him and deemed his death a crime scene, claiming it to be a burglary gone wrong. This results in a battle between the Survey Corps and the 1st Interior Squad after Hange suspects that they are plotting against them. Nifa from the Survey Corps 4th Squad joins Levi in tracking down Eren and Historia. Nifa and Levi locate the carriage holding them, and during their pursuit they get flanked by Kenny the Ripper, who headshots Nifa, killing her instantly. The same fate befalls Abel, another ally amongst Squad Levi, who is instantly killed by a member of Kenny's squad. KG, another member of Hange's squad, gets ambushed and killed by Kenny's group. Levi in turn kills Duran, a member of Kenny's squad, by shooting one of his grappling hooks into his face to then proceed using his body as a shield against the incoming attacks. I just want to take a quick moment here to say that this is one of the coolest moments in anime, full stop, where Levi is just going on a complete rampage on Kenny's people. Like, Levi took out multiple members of Kenny's squad, showing his own understanding of Kenny's tactics because, well, you know, since he was the one who raised him. This is peak fiction. Anyway, where was we? Following this, a merchant by the name of Dima Reeves, who led the Reeves Company and once partnered with the military police, was caught and coerced to help ambush 2 Interior Squad members to allow safe passage for Levi's group. This puts a mark on Reeves' back and is killed in the Trost district by Kenny, who slits his throat. Eren is held hostage in the Reese Chapel as Rod Reese tries to get Historia to take the founding titan from him. Historia refuses though and breaks the titan's serum. In a desperate state, Rod Reese licks the titan serum from the floor. Yes, that is right, he was licking it up like a dog. But this then did turn him into a huge ass titan. Like, I'm talking stupid huge here, to the point of completely destroying the chapel. This ends up killing Cavan, who is crushed by the debris. Rod is later killed by Eren in his attack titan form, who blows up Rod using gunpowder as Historia lands the finishing blow, destroying his nape, adding yet another Reese family member to the death tally. Like, seriously, how many of them have to die? Anyway, Kenny Ackerman is heavily injured in the collapse of the cave where Rod had transformed, escaping to a nearby tree. Levi arrives to see him on the verge of death, and Kenny reveals that he has a titan injection, but he admits that he hasn't used it due to the lack of having the resolve to continue moving forward. This ultimately leads to Kenny telling Levi the truth about their family connection and gives him the titan injection, dying soon after. However, as we will learn later in this video, Kenny passing down the titan serum to Levi was a key moment in the story. After this, the Survey Corps prepared to go back to Shiganshina with the Executioner from Hell weapon that would help kill Titans without soldiers. Whilst attempting to take back the district, the Beast Titans, along with Raynar and Bertolt, arrive for battle with more Titans. Hange and Levi's squad engage the armoured Titan, which seemingly gets taken out. However, this ends up not being the case. Bertolt tries to flee after negotiations with Armin fall flat and is chased by Hange and Moblit Burner. However, they are tricked and Bertolt transforms, with them close by attempting to kill them. Mobilt sacrifices himself as he pushes Hange into a nearby well, saving her from the explosion. Harold, who is another member of Hange's squad, is killed by Bertolt's transformation. The battle rages on, with the Beast Titan throwing boulders at the scout party members across the battlefield battlefield, killing multiple people such as Klaus, Marlene, Dirk, Sandra, Gordon, and Marlowe, all of them being killed by boulders being lobbed by Zeke. This is where we get the famous line telling Erwin to give up on his dreams and become a devil to lead the scout on a full-on frontal attack. Erwin Smith is heavily injured during the onslaught, whilst Armin finds himself scorched by the colossal titan steam when he sacrifices himself as a diversion so that Eren can cut Bertolt out of his titan form. With both Armin and Erwin on the brink of death, the decision is made to use the titan serum Levi received from Kenny to inherit Bertolt's colossal titan and save them in the process. The decision is eventually made to save Armin, who is turned into a titan and subsequently eats Bertolt. Erwin Smith then dies from his injuries, making Hunge his replacement. After the battle, there are only 9 scouts to survive, implying that Lauder, Rasha, and Thomas all now are dead due to not being amongst the survivors.
Alright, now let's move on to Season 4 Part 1. To start things off, during the events of the time skip, a war between Marley and the Mid-East Allied forces raged on, resulting in many deaths, including many Eldians who Zeke transforms into suicide-bombing titans in order to retake Fort Slava. Over the course of the next 3 years, Marley sends 32 scout ships to Paradise, but none of them ever return as they are ambushed by Eren, Armin, and others at the shores of Paradise. It is the Tiber family that aligns with Zeke and the warriors to attack Paradise with the power of the Warhammer Titan. Willie Tiber wanted to see the Tiber's family take place as the leaders of Marley due to being the true royal rulers. His aim was to expose these family secrets at the festival. During the Welcome Party festival, Willie Tiber claimed to have a plan to wipe out all the Eldians, where he makes his grand speech about the truth of Marley and the Eldian War, how it ended with the 145th King Karl Fritz, and how Eren Yeager is the enemy they must defeat. As Tiber makes his grand speech, Eren is hiding behind the festival platform, waiting for his perfect moment to strike while he's talking to Reiner. Once Tiber finished and the crowd began to rage in support of his words, Eren bursts out, ready to start the war himself, thinking that the Warhammer Titan was Willie Tiber himself, and consumes him. This, of course, makes the people of Marley freak out, since Tiber was supposed to be a new leader for their people, and this is Eren's declaration of war, ultimately called the Raid on Liberio. This resulted in the death of many civilians in the crowd, as well as General Calvi, a Marleyan military leader, as Eren rampages through the crowd of people. Udo, an Eldian warrior candidate, tries to escape Eren's rampage but is subsequently trampled to death amongst the mass panic by the people of Marley, while Zofia is crushed by the debris due to Eren transforming. Both Zofia and Udo specifically were friends with Gabby and Colt, becoming close friends as candidates, working together in the battlefield often, even though Zofia and Udo barely spoke to each other. The death of these two set a fire of emotion and vengeance inside of Gabby, similar to that of Eren when he was a child, continuing the parallels of Reiner and Berthold's attack on Paradise with Eren's on Marley. The battle in Marley continues to rage on, with the Cart Titan Panzer Group and the Jot Titan joining the battle, with Zeke going against the survey unit invading Marley while he's secretly conspiring with Paradise to fake his own death at the hands of Levi. Carlo is also shot in the head and killed by Sasha Braun, who uses the chaos to her advantage to change the tide of battle. With the battle raging on, Lara Tiber, the Warhammer Titan, faces off against Eren, barely being able to hold him off while she fully transforms. Eren figures out where her real body is hiding underneath the ruins of the stage and begins his assault all over again. She struggles to hold off Eren, who realizes that the Jot Titan can do damage to Lara's crystal, so he disables the Jot Titan and uses his jaw to break open Lara's crystal to devour her. This gave Eren the power of the Warhammer Titan, making him even more powerful than he was when he arrived in Marley. The raid begins to enter its closing, with the Survey Corps succeeding in their plans to help Eren, so they begin to retreat. It is the member Lobov, a former commander of the garrison, that is shot first when Gabby approaches the airship. Lobov is shot in the head, and she also gets a shot on our favorite potato girl, Sasha, causing her to bleed out due to the chest wound, and Gabby becomes a huge thorn and confusion for the Survey Corps after this due to being a child caught in the Marley propaganda. The death plays a huge role in the rest of Gabby's story as she is forced into the BRAUN's family after she reaches Paradise. During her time there is when she realizes that they are not in fact island devils and they too are just human. But this death also foreshadowed Eren's ability to view the future, as him laughing and not reacting to Sasha's death was in fact due to the fact that he knew it would happen already. Following the raid on Marley back in Paradise, a faction known as the Jaegerists are formed, who are a faction who want to reunite Eren with his brother to create the new Eldian Empire. Dallas Zachary is killed by an explosion when some Jaegerists planted a bomb in his office. This began the rebellion of the Jaegerists, and Eren decided to go against Mikasa and the others. This is where the war for Paradise Island truly starts. Levi goes after Zeke Yeager with the help of a select group of soldiers. These soldiers are guarding Zeke until they get a word of Zachary's death. Varys is one of these soldiers chosen and warns Levi about the Jaegerists coming to save Zeke. Levi then decides to have Zeke eaten, that way he's no longer a problem, but Zeke has other plans and screams out, causing a secret spinal fluid inside Levi's team to activate and turning them into Titan due to the wine they were all drinking. Varys is killed by Levi with the rest of the soldiers and turned into a pure Titan from Zeke's body fluid. Levi kills every one of them without any hesitation, much to Zeke's surprise, who thought seeing his companions turn into Titans would somehow harm Levi's fighting spirit. Bruh, have you seen this dude? He probably seen like 500 of his comrades die in front of him to Titans because they couldn't hang with this dude. That wasn't actually a handicap for Levi. If anything, it was the opposite, giving Levi the reassurance to make sure Zeke is eaten. Back on the side of the Jaegerists, the ex-Marleyan soldier Griez plotting with them to arrest the Corps officers who tried to warn them about Zeke's spinal fluid being passed around throughout the walls. However, Griez doesn't believe it to be true. Soon after this, Griez goes with Yelena and Onya Capone to check on the prisoners and Niccolo. Griez insults Niccolo for siding with the Eldians instead of staying with the Marleyan army and starts to mock his move for Sasha, calling her a whore and a filthy island devil until Yelena throws his brain out for his words. Oh my god, he deserved that shit. You don't call Sasha a whore. That is such a rude word. Why would you do that? While this is all going on, the rest of the war on Paradise begins to play out with Eren and Zeke trying to meet together so that Eren can finally hold the full power of the Founding Titan and supposedly complete the euthanization plan of the Eldian race. Next up, moving on to Season 4, Part 2. Porco, a soldier tasked with infiltrating the Paradise military after the Marley attack, alongside Peak, are able to get into the military headquarters to reach Eren. In order to stop him from connecting with Zeke, disguised as a Survey Corps member, Galliard stays beside Peak as she leads Eren to the roof. Galliard transforms into the Jaw Titan and ambushes Eren. Eventually, Peak transforms to escape with Gabby, while Reiner engages Eren, who is in armored Titan form. Porco tries to help the other to get revenge for Eren, using him to kill Lara Tiber, the Warhammer Titan. Both him and Reiner are skewered by Eren's hardened flesh without being able to be stopped. Porco is severely beaten down by him as Eren continues towards Zeke, causing him to be unable to heal his wound. Reiner calls for his help and tries to reach for him, making Galliard see the memories of Marcel, telling Reiner that he set his brother up in order to save him from becoming a warrior, causing Porco dismay. Realizing he cannot heal, Porco gets out the Jaw Titan, stumbling in front of Reiner and Falco, who had now become a pure Titan due to ingesting Zeke's spinal fluid. Colt, Falco's older brother, had previously pleaded to Zeke to not scream due to Falco accidentally ingesting the fluid, but Zeke spares no one, so Colt dies under high heat caused by Falco's transformation. Accepting his fate and his brother's role in him not obtaining the armored Titan, Porco proclaims he will always be a better warrior than Reiner, feeling he deserved the armored Titan all along. Porco is then eaten by Falco, giving his powers over to him, as well as giving Falco his humanity back. Zeke finally gets close to Eren when Gabby shoots Eren's head off with an anti-Titan rifle, but Zeke catches Eren's head, allowing him to activate the Founding Titan and travel to the Path's realm. It is revealed that Eren is not planning to follow Zeke's plan to activate the Eldian euthanization plan and actually wanted to start the rumbling instead, creating mass genocide. Dun dun dun. Alright, Yusuf, take over.
And boy, oh boy, a mass genocide he created indeed. Because through all of this, Eren's rumbling literally murders a good amount of the world's population, including Ramsey and Halil. And by the end of the rumbling, around 80% of the population. But we'll get to that more in a bit, because before that happens, during the Paradis X Marley's allied effort to stop Eren and his rumbling, they had to face off against the Jaegerists to acquire a flying boat in order to reach him, you know, because he's pretty high up in the sky, if you know what I mean. Like, he's pretty gigantic. They can't just, you know, walk up and crawl up his bones. That would be quite funny, right? But to obtain the flying boat, Connie and Armin are challenged by Samuel and Daz, previous members of the 104th Training Corps, who then became part of the Jaegerist. As Connie wrestles with Samuel, Daz tries to reconnect the detonator, however, is stopped by an injured Armin. Daz pleads for Armin to stop as he aims his gun at him and begins to tear up. These guys have gone through so much together, fighting titans back in the good old days, but now they are fighting each other. Armin even thinks back to Bertolt, but Connie snatches the gun from a screaming and crying Samuel and shoots both Samuel and Daz dead. Yes guys, another two have fallen. The rest of the Jaegerists retreat as the reinforcements are suddenly derailed. General Magath from Mali stays behind to hold off the Jaegerists. In his efforts, he is saved by Keith Sadis, the head commandant of the 104th Cadet Corps. Keith was the one who blew up the train, derailing the Jaegerists, possibly killing countless soldiers. Magath and Keith, once leaders of the opposing side, now together were able to escape to another steamboat and successfully delay the Jaegerists from catching up by blowing up the Jaegerist ship in the harbor, killing themselves and many of the enemy soldiers with them. Their sacrifice, however, did play a massive role and change the tide for the alliance. However, without any of them knowing, Floch, or Floch, however you pronounce his name, because I obviously butchered it. Either way, Floch, the de facto leader of the Jaegerists, managed to anchor himself onto the flying ship and followed them all the way to their destination in Odiha. Here, Floch Forster meets his end. Whilst badly injured, he tries to attack the Azumabito's mechanics to stop them from taking off. He does hit the boat fuel tank, but Mikasa swiftly arrives and sends a gear anchor through Floch's neck. With his last breath, he begs Hange and Jean to stop following after Eren, because the rumbling was the only hope for the Paradis survival. As Hange and Jean looked over Floch's bleeding body, even at his final moments, Floch described Eren the exact way he described Erwin, our devil, our only hope. Which means what he views in Eren is what he saw in Erwin. Since Erwin's death, Floch's thought has never changed. Ireland will be massacred. Hange in response states, "It's as you say, we cannot give up. If we fail today, we will try again," seemingly agreeing with Floch's statement, and maybe the end is inevitable. Floch believed he was fighting for the true future of his people, wanting to be a hero for the Eldians, hence him lasting so long in the story and having the will to fight so hard to protect Eren's path. As Floch bites the dust, the team is apprehended by the Wall Titans, and before taking off, the team has to decide who will stay to hold off these Titans as the flying boat tries to lift off. Armin and Reiner argue over who will stay, but the 14th commander of the Survey Corps, Hanji Zo, says to both of them that they have used too much of their Titan power, and in fact it will be needed later on to defeat Eren. So Hanji appoints Armin as the 15th commander of the Survey Corps, whilst deciding to stay behind, saying a final goodbye to Levi, a long-time companion through their times behind the walls. As she flies out to engage the Titans, as her usual self, Hanji couldn't help but admire the sight of them. After using 2 Thunder Spears to take down 2 Titans, she starts using her blades to store for more time. However, fighting the Titans close range caused Hanji to be burnt, but Hanji continues to fight so that the flying boat can take off, eventually succumbing to her injuries and dying. We then see a glimpse of Hanji in the afterlife, waking up on the ground, worried about the others, but Erwin is there to comfort her, letting her know that her sacrifice
sacrifice worked. This vision is actually very important, but let me quickly explain what just happened. The writing is absolutely fantastic because Floch and Hanji both died the same way, fighting for what they believe in and their own ideology till the very end. Isayama is portraying the morally grey color of the world with every single character involved. All of the characters can be seen as either good or evil depending on your moral standings and view of the world on what's right or wrong. Hanji and Floch both displayed equal dedication but from opposite value systems. The current geopolitics and worldview will not allow for diplomatic middle ground or even civil conversation to take place like Armin wishes for. Hence why Hanji and Floch died as sacrifices to their polarizing ideologies. This is what keeps Attack on Titan grounded in reality and so thought-provoking that makes us question the politics that occurs in our own everyday lives. But without making this video any darker than it is, come on, can it get any darker, guys? Well, yes it can, guys, just wait for the ending. Going directly for Eren, the group approaches his giant titan form. Eventually Ymir summons many of the previous hosts of the 8 titans to defeat Eren. Zeke Yeager is amongst them, still alive even though he was technically eaten by Eren and Ymir, being sent to the paths. Soon after, Armin is partially eaten too by one of the founding titans, Spawn, again just like Zeke, causing Armin to also be sent to the paths, meeting him. The two titan shifters bond over their lives, with Zeke sharing his theory of the origin of life. He talks about all organism wanting to multiply due to the fear of death, leading him to believe that Ymir now follows Eren because he truly understands her. Armin recalls his childhood, reminding him of how he saw life even in despair, holding a baseball, reminding Zeke of his own time with Tom Kasaver, the man who gave him the Beast Titan. Zeke sees both Grisha and Kasaver behind him, asking them to give him strength and thanking both of them for the lives they gave him. Now back in the real world, emerging from Eren's giant titan form, Zeke calls out to Levi to gain his attention. In these final moments, Zeke thinks of the present day in admiration, realizing he should have just seen the beauty of the world sooner, but he truly didn't deserve to notice it, which is when Levi swiftly beheads him. This, or either being eaten earlier by a titan, was the true death of Zeke, and it also cut Eren's tie with any royal blood he had, helping put an end to the rumbling. Finally, Eren Yeager defends himself against the assault of his ex-comrades, with him and Ymir summoning more titans to protect his nape. They reach his nape and blow it up to sever his head, but this doesn't stop Eren, as from the founding titan's spine, the hallucigenia comes out and Eren's head transforms into a colossal attack titan form. Armin clashes in his own colossal titan form with Eren, but is beaten. However, Mikasa, finally finding the resolve, figures out where Eren's real head is located and then enters Eren's colossal attack titan's mouth, enabling her to sever Eren's head from the spine on the inside, finally killing Eren Yeager for good. Mikasa holds Eren's head and kisses him on the lips, saying goodbye, as Ymir watches on. With Eren now dead by the hands of Mikasa, the woman he loved, Ymir is also now free of the love that held her to the Fritz family for 2000 years. The power of the Titans is now eradicated from the earth, and Mikasa quickly disappears to give Eren a proper burial, whilst Armin decides to take the credit and declares to be the man who killed Eren, bringing the Eldians and the Malian people together. Due to his death, his friends also acquired memories they had with Eren in the realm of the path when they were on the ship approaching Odiha. Eren summoned Mikasa and the others to the path to have a final talk with them. Each and every one of Eren's friends will explain the true reasons behind the rumbling. During that interaction, Armin talked with Eren, who revealed that in the path he cannot even think straight due to having the memories of the past, present and future flooding his mind. He also speaks about wanting Mikasa to only love him, confessing that he doesn't want to die, but he knows the world won't forgive him for what he has done. He further explains that Mikasa is the key and Ymir is looking through her eyes, and as we learned, Ymir would only be free if Mikasa chooses to be free of her love. Now after all of this, we then find out that 80% of the world's population was killed by the rumbling. That's a lot of gosh damn people, guys. And sadly, Isayama showed us what happens next. As the years goes by, we see Mikasa eventually die along with everyone from her generation. This though was due to old age and not really war. However, a couple of generations down the line, war broke out, and as we see from the final panel, Paradise went through military warfare where it no longer stands. Only thing that remained was a large gigantic tree, very similar to the one that Yimir Fritz fell upon. Anyway guys, I hope we explained every single important death in Attack on Titan Titan. If you did miss anyone, especially your favorite character, let us know down below. And if you did get to the end, let me know by typing "keep moving forwards" in the comment section down below. And if you guys want more Attack on Titan content, make sure to watch this video next as we go over the entire Attack on Titan timeline.